Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, battered but not bowed. Ugandan MP Bobi Wine and dozens of other critics of President Yoweri Museveni are out of jail. They've been granted bail but still face treason charges. Also, many Black Tunisians and visitors to Tunisia face discrimination and sometimes attack because of the colour of their skin. Victims of abuse say that they have little faith authorities take their complaints seriously. We take a closer look with our correspondent. And with her big round eyes and curly hair, she's winning over a generation of South African children. We meet Akiki, the doll created by a mother to show her daughter the beauty in African heritage and diversity. But first, Ugandan MP Kyagulanyi Ssentamu left a courthouse on crutches on Monday as he and 32 other people were charged with treason were granted bail. The 36-year-old is a popular musician known as Bobi Wine, and his detention on August the 14th sparked days of riots and international calls for his release. Now, his supporters believe that he's being persecuted by President Yoweri Museveni. The government denies that Wine and his co-accused were tortured whilst in jail. A trial date's not yet been fixed for treason charges that were brought in connection to the stoning of Museveni's convoy earlier this month.
Of course, we are very happy that our members of parliament have finally got freedom from being incarcerated by government in prisons. That was our main aim.
I think the whole world has come together to condemn what has been going on. And so the fact that the state did not oppose the application for bail is a relief.
We're joined now by Michael O'Hagan with more. Michael, what happens next with those treason charges that the group is facing?
Charging opposition politicians with treason is an old script in Uganda. We heard just now from Kizza Besigye, who has stood against President Museveni in elections 4 times, and he still has treason charges hanging over him. The state will often allow charges just never to quite come to trial. Lots of bureaucracy, lots of administrative procedures are put in place to mean that people are just kept in a limbo for a long time. So it's an old script, but there are some new players. Bobi Wine's youthful energy, his popularity across Uganda means it's not clear at all whether the Ugandan authorities will try and prosecute him with treason, and as well as the others, or whether they'll use the same tactic of delaying yet again.
So how's all this going to affect Bobi Wine's political ambitions and influence?
This will very much depend on whether Bobi Wine, who appears to be quite badly injured, how he reacts to this. It could work to his strength in that it operates as a rite of passage. Many people still think of Bobi Wine primarily as the upstart musician with a slightly irresponsible reputation. If he comes through this with a renewed resolve, then it could certainly help his reputation. But this is a very challenging thing to come through. His lawyers say he's been very seriously brutalized.
Now, at least 2 people fainted in court. Bobi Wine's one of 33 people who were charged and granted bail. Wine himself was on crutches, and there was a lot of concern about how he was treated. Would others likely also have faced harsh treatment?
Yes, of the 34 people who were granted bail today, 33 of them were up for treason charges and 1 other for a lesser charge. 2 cases in particular stand out. One of Night Asara. She's a 38-year-old local councillor in the ward, in the constituency where this by-election took place. She had a cesarean section. Nevertheless, human rights activists who have recorded her case say that she was brutalised by the police, that they punched her, stamped on her, used a gun butt to hit her torso, and when she appeared in court first last week, she was bleeding from her genitals. It's not clear that she has been able to receive medical treatment. Another person, Jane Abola, who's 31, was a passerby. She was a guest at the same hotel and had nothing to do with the incidents. she also received very harsh treatment and was threatened with rape and death in detention. So although the attention is clearly on the high-profile figures, these other lower-profile individuals show what often happens in Uganda when people are detained in the shadows.
Thanks very much, Michael Oghagan, there for us in Kampala. Now, Kenya's president met with his US counterpart on Monday. Uhuru Kenyatta and his wife Margaret were welcomed at the White House by Donald Trump and his First Lady Melania. Kenyatta is the second African leader to meet with Trump there, after Nigeria's Muhammadu Buhari visited earlier this year. Kenya is a strategic partner to the US in regional security, and the countries are hoping to boost cooperation.
Kenya and the United States have had strong, solid relationships ever since our independence. We are here to renew that partnership. We're here to strengthen it. We've had very good and excellent cooperation, especially in our fight against terrorism because of the neighborhood that we're in. Al-Shabaab fights, which the United States have been a very strong and solid partner. But more importantly, we're here to pursue and to strengthen our trade and investment ties, which are already very strong. We have a good number of American companies in Kenya, and we want to see how we can strengthen that going forward for the mutual benefit of our two countries.
Zimbabwe's opposition MDC alliance is trying to raise over €110,000 to pay for the legal fees racked up in its failed challenge to President Emerson Mnangagwa's election victory. Mnangagwa was sworn in as the country's leader on Sunday after the Constitutional Court dismissed the MDC's accusations of fraud and bid to have the results of the July polls annulled. The ruling also carried a punitive condition ordering the MDC candidate, Nelson Chamisa, to foot the legal costs of all parties. Mnangagwa was first appointed after Robert Mugabe was forced out by the military last November. Dark-skinned people living in Tunisia are increasingly reporting cases of discrimination and even violence. One of the more high-profile attacks saw a brawl break out between Tunisians and Ivorians this month after a child threw stones at a black woman. Our correspondents tell us more.
A support group talking about racism. On a Sunday afternoon, many Ivorians have come to discuss the attack of an Ivorian woman on August 22nd. Laure is one of over a dozen people from the Ivory Coast who were also beaten up by a Tunisian mob that day.
After beating the lady, they attacked all the black people that they saw. It's the first time they beat people like that. But they've thrown stones before. They often throw stones and then it passes. But that day they beat me.
5 people were arrested, and officials from the Ivory Coast Embassy say they will work more closely with local police to protect the community. But racist attacks are seldom followed up in Tunisia. Here, racism doesn't have a legal definition.
Tunisians don't recognize themselves as racist. First, because it's shameful, and second, it's not supposed to exist. The black Tunisians also endure racism, because in the end, Tunisians don't distinguish between black foreigners and black Tunisians. They only see the color.
Affected communities say racist violence and insults are a daily occurrence, and they often share their experiences of discrimination on social networks. Prejudice against dark skin also worries many sub-Saharan students who come to study in Tunisia. There are nearly 7,000 of them, each spending around €3,000 for their education every year.
Students still want to come to Tunisia because of the quality of training programs. But on the other hand, people's mentality does not change. So these acts are not an incentive for parents or students to encourage people to come and study here.
Civil society groups are denouncing the silence of Tunisian authorities who have rarely addressed the issue publicly. After years of lobbying efforts for one, Parliament introduced a bill on racial discrimination in May. There's been little progress since.
Now, with her big round eyes and curly hair, she's winning over a generation of South African children, and she's only 46 centimetres tall. Meet Akiki, a doll created by a mother to give her daughter a positive self-image and promote African heritage and diversity. Alison Sargent has more.
There's a new girl on the playground, and she's been making friends with kids across South Africa, who say they love everything about her, from her curly hair to her brown skin.
I like about her dress, and the shoes, and the hair, and the eyebrows, and the hands, and the skin. She's a little brown, and she's cute, and she's my favorite doll.
Her name is Akiki, and she was created in 2016 by Kenyan-born entrepreneur Fatuma Abdullah. Abdullah says she wanted her daughter to have a doll that looked like her, to help her build confidence and self-esteem.
For me, I was really excited because I didn't have a black doll, so I was like, yeah, look at her. And then she was just like, oh yeah, she looks like us. But then the first thing she started doing is touching her hair, and then also looking at her skin like, oh, okay. Because for me, the thing is like, dolls also come in these colors.
Akiki may be built to reflect the average girl, but true to her dollhood, she's got a sophisticated sense of style.
This is stunning.
One that reflects her African heritage, which her makers hope to share with children around the world.
You also want Akiki to sell Africa globally. So it's not a point of we want to sell only South Africans. You want an American child to also be able to say, I want that doll.
Akiki's friend group is already growing. Sold online for around €30, the dolls have been purchased by customers from Kenya to Austria to the United Kingdom.
Gonna have to take some style tips from Akiki. But finally, we're gonna leave you with the sights and sounds of Ghana's annual Chale Wote Street Festival. The event turned the streets of Accra into a gallery for the arts. Thousands wandered around over the weekend, soaking up the eclectic mix of graffiti, music, fashion, and performance. This year was the 8th edition and brought artists and art lovers out into public spaces and venues across the city under the theme of belonging. That's it for Eye on Africa for now. Thanks for joining us. Do so again. Take care.